Hey folks, welcome to the latest episode of Lowdown on Low Code. I'm Rob Koplowitz and I'm here with my co-host Rick Greenwald. How are you, Rick?
I'm doing just fine. How about you?
I'm doing great because we're about to launch some new research and we want to talk about that today. So we're going to keep it short. Because we really want you to go look at the new research. Just a little background on this. This came from a pretty extensive project that we did with Microsoft on the topic of governance of agents and co-pilots in the enterprise. And Microsoft has been extremely gracious in allowing us to publish the results of this work. So to all of our benefits. So the topic is governance, and let's start off with a couple of just simple questions, Rick. So, you know, if we're concerned about AI in the enterprise, why don't we just shut it down? Tell them no, can't use it. Too many risks.
Well, as I say about using distributed data in different contexts, there's two reasons. Well, there's bad news and good news. The bad news is it's going to be really hard to do that, and the good news is you'll fail. So no sense to really even start. The problem is not AI. The problem is the foundations that AI is built on, and to some extent, the way that AI works in a non-deterministic and probabilistic nature. But that's a whole separate topic.
So what do I, as an enterprise user who looks at this stuff and says, there's some fundamental value here, there's things I can do better, and my company says I can't use it, what am I likely to do?
Um, I don't know if you've heard, there's this program called Excel. It's
Yeah.
gotten pretty popular in the past, I don't know, 25 years. What you're going to do is you're going to do it on your own. This is the old argument of if you outlaw something, then they'll be back alley AI is what I'm talking about here. Um, the problem with that is in some ways you should be allowed to do whatever you want to do. In other ways, you're not fully aware of the risks that can come about from things like a lack of governance.
So let's take a case in point. Just this week, OpenAI has announced that they're monitoring conversations and reporting infractions or concerning things to law enforcement. I don't know how they're doing that. I don't know what they're classifying as concerning. I don't know if I can trust them in any way. And I sure as heck don't want to expose my enterprise to any potential surprises down the line. But they're monitoring and they are making reports. So who knows what they're reporting on? I don't know. I don't know if there's reason concern, but you know what I want? I want a properly well governed program running on the products that I've vetted, that I have introduced in a meaningful way. So let's just sort of say the risk is people go off the reservation and they create far greater risk. But the MIT study that comes out, I mean, what struck me about that study, Rick, was these things are failing at a very high rate. But a lot of the causes of failure are pilots aren't moving into production. And what's happening as pilots move into production? Oh, there's data governance concerns. There's privacy concerns. There's security. There's compliance. There's regulatory concerns, on and on and on. And this is no different than any any IT system we've implemented in the last, I don't know, probably since we moved from mainframes, even including mainframes. This is nothing new. So
Yes.
a lot of the document we're here is to talk about is how do you think about putting a proper governance model in place so you can do this with the
Yeah.
least risk possible? Because we truly believe properly applied, there is a great deal of pragmatic value to be gained from AI right now.
Sure. And part of that is keeping AI within its proper boundaries as to what you do with it. For instance, I mentioned earlier, AI produces non deterministic results. Nothing wrong with that, except that we're used to getting the same result every time. AI will not deliver that for you. So, first of all, we have to understand what AI can deliver. And even though it may seem like we're moving a piece on the checkerboard a fraction of an inch, you can sometimes fall off the cliff there. Secondly, what you said, and it couldn't be more true, everything old is new again. Gosh, got to be 35, 40 years ago, people were worried about what they call SQL injection attacks, where people would be able to write malicious SQL and gain access to your data or do all sorts of things to your system. even exacerbated more so when procedural language came in so they could execute logic from a SQL statement too. And the reason this happened was because there were no guardrails, there was no governance, there was no control over that. Well, over the decades, that's come to not be a problem. Most enterprise databases have a guard against this. But here comes AI. And your AI agent, you say, oh, I'll just give him system privileges. Hello, hello. Back to SQL injection. Can I get that AI agent to do what I want, which may be malicious? So, one of the ways that we can do it, this sounds like an overwhelming problem. There are lots of issues to it, but one way we can keep safe is to guard our crown jewels. And what are our crown jewels? Our data. That's the most important thing. How do you protect data? You wrap your security, you wrap your governance around that data. Because when that happens, it doesn't matter what anyone does. That is protected from SQL injection, from malicious intrusion, from AI agents. Data is the foundation everything is built on. If your data is good, if your data is trusted, if your data is protected, you at least have that foundational level taken care of.
And in fairness, we did this project with Microsoft, and Microsoft is managing a lot of that data access, a lot of that data security. So when you invoke it within an environment on top of a Microsoft stack, you're inheriting that. A lot of that, that's not entirely unique to Microsoft. There's a lot of firms that are going to
Mhm.
be able to make that claim as well. And it's a great starting point. But data governance is not the only thing. In the document, we go into a lot of other a lot of other topics. So just for the folks who are, we hope will click on it and take a look at this document. We introduce a framework called VRPP, which is value, risk, people, and process. These are the things that we want you to take a look at. From a value perspective, we provide some simple models as to how to determine what is the potential value. Is it going to drive efficiency, which would allow you to do things better, faster, potentially cheaper? Is it going to potentially drive effectiveness, which is a fundamentally better outcome? How do you think about risk and the risks? The risks, as we know, are many, but are in no way unique to this. So, we have a framework that looks at security, privacy, compliance, a business risk. Are you going to do the Taco Bell thing and put something into place that simply isn't the right technology, is going to cause frustration for the people who are using it? Is there reputational risk? Is there operational risk? What is the reach of this product? How far of this process? How far can it go? And you mentioned one earlier, Rick. Is it the right technology? So one of the things I think we may have gotten overexcited about with regard to AI technology is let's apply it to everything. Well, if this is a simple piece of conditional logic that's 3 steps, I could do it cheaper and faster, right? This might be a few lines of code. This may not be tolerant of a probabilistic outcome or an opaque outcome. So these are risks that we have to take into account as well.
The framework is really important because the question you always have to ask whenever you're starting on any new project is why? Why do we want to do this? And up until now, people have answered that questions by only looking at the potential benefits. And what this framework does is saying, okay, let's give you ways to quantify these benefits, and let's give you ways to balance those quantities of benefits with the risk and the other things involved. And it may very well turn out that not only do you not need AI, you may have the answer or the value you want more or less sitting there in your systems right now.
So one piece here is this document was primarily authored by myself and Rick, as well as John Reimer. John Reimer contributed a really, really great section on centers of excellence and how to apply a center of excellence in this environment. Again, this is nothing new. These are things that we know how to do. We know how to do them well. IT shops are mature in this regard. Again, I think one of the things we learned from the MIT study is we went too far too fast. We did too many pilots. We need to actually apply some of the rigor that we really do understand, really quite well. And there isn't anything here um, that is net new to the environment. There's net new opportunities, but the risk management, the value assessments, these things are well known. So
Yeah.
So, folks, we really hope you can take a few minutes. This is just a very, very quick tee up. The document's going to be available on analysis.tech. We'll get you links to the document. If you have questions about the document, reach back to us. You can reach us through analysis.tech. You could talk to Rick Greenwald. You could talk to myself. You could talk to John Reimer, one of the co-authors. We also have Francis Carden, Dave Marcus, and Andy Bartels available, to cover subjects like, like RPA development techniques, scaling, these types of things within an enterprise sales and product team, and Andy covering the topic of economics. So anyway, great being with you today, Rick.
As always, Rob.
Shortest podcast ever, because we really, really want you all to go and take a look at this document. It's out on analysis.tech right now. Great research, again, done in partnership with Microsoft, and some we think some really important information in it. Take care, everybody.
Thanks.